How early can you tell in the career of a horse when you have a really good one? Can you tell right away?
I think sometimes that you can find an exceptional horse, and I tell people every time, when we broke Little Miss K, the first day we put the hobbles on her, I said she's something special. I think an exceptional horse kind of tells as far as the class, the way they handle themselves. The other horses, I think they're a little tougher to tell till you get down into it.
Mike, when you have a horse, a young horse, can you tell right away, or can you 2 or 3 starts in if you have a really, really good one?
Well, as far as a 2-year-old there, you see how good they are, like the 3rd or 4th start when they start to go for money. The baby race there is very, very tough to evaluate a 2-year-old in a baby race. And in a training in the winter, they could fool you real bad, especially the pacer. A trotter, if he's really good gaited there and he's well bred and he's got the speed, you're halfway there in a training. But a pacer, very, very tough. And the first or couple of baby races, they could fool you because they don't know how to cheat. It's new. It's a new environment for them. It's got to be like maybe the 3rd or the 4th, and when they go for money.
Now, John, a lot of young horses racing this time of year. Can you tell if you have a real top, maybe even a great horse early on?
You can tell if you have a nice horse. I used to say when they come home in 27 in their first qualifier, that was a good horse. And if they came back and they did it back-to-back where they went out in 27 and home in 27, it was a good horse. But a great horse, I've never sat behind a great horse, so it's hard to say. But, I mean, those are very few and far between.
Bob Bonney, you've been associated with a lot of great horses. Can you tell right away if one is really, really special?
I think you can get a good idea if a horse has above-average talent. Special is going to take some races, but I think you have a pretty good idea if you have a better-than-average horse.
Like a Camtastic years ago and Annihilator, those 2 horses come to mind. When did you know, hey, wait a second, let's watch these guys?
I think we knew pretty early. A combination of watching them go and what the trainers had to say, but I think the biggest thing that they showed that separated them was they both enjoyed what they did. They had the ability, they had the talent, but they also enjoyed going on the racetrack, and that is, I think, is a step up.
Attitude is big there.
Very big, very, very big, because I think that's what eventually separates the ones that are going to be good to special to the ones that just have the talent, don't make it. And I think it's the same thing with, I think, any athlete, 2 legs or 4 legs.
Hey, Jerry Silverman, you trained Triple Crown winner. You won some big races, won the Wilson here. How early can you tell whether or not you have a really big, top, standout type horse?
It's very difficult when you say real early, but I've been fortunate that most of my good horses I've been able to tell relatively early, around February.
Horse like Die Laughing, Glowing Report, what do they do to stand out from the rest?
Whether they're lazy or they're on the bit, they show you something on the racetrack when you're training in a set coming home. They show you that little extra, that little cheerfulness. That to me is very important.
And it's hard to teach a horse to actually want to do it. They got to go out there and want it.
That's exactly right. But you do get the occasional horse that is not interested in doing it, and you start training him with a horse following, and he'll get there. He'll get there.
Yeah, take us back to the first time you drove Darlin's Delight. Did you know that she was kind of special, maybe even extra special right away?
I had no idea. I picked off of her twice. I didn't go drive her the first time she raced, and then the second time I picked a filly of Brian McGee instead of Darlin's Delight. And then, but I wasn't the only one. David Miller picked off of her too. He had a chance to go drive her in Monticello after he got the drive, and he didn't want to go. Didn't think she was that special either. So I guess I wasn't the only one. But most of the time, I think you can tell. Like in baby races, they're pretty strong. You can't tell if they're going to be great or good, but you can tell. But her, I'm telling you, she really got better and better, and she's a great mare.
And some can fool you too. Some can show an awful lot early, and then all of a sudden they hit a brick wall.
Well, usually those are the 99% of the time when one fools you is that they show they're great and they're not that good. It's very it happens way less often that you get one like her that just keeps getting better. But all the credit comes to Jeff. He didn't have her prime and ready like a lot of people do, and he just had her ready to qualify. But she didn't train in 54 before she qualified. Let's put it that way.
Daniel Dubé, last year Rock and Roll Heaven was the horse of the year. But as a 2-year-old, when did you realize that Rock and Roll Heaven was extra special?
The first time I drove him in the Sire Stake, it was last, and I sweep the field, and he showed me so much speed, and that's what I told Bruce. I want to follow him everywhere,
Yeah, he's got a lot of speed. You can't really teach speed. Can you tell early on, though, not counting a horse like that, can you tell first, second, third start if someone is really a standout, really a good one?
You could get an idea, man. Some they could come out after a couple of starts, you know, when they race, you know, they really race. Man, sometimes you can know a little bit, you know.
Now, Marcus Johansson's here. We were talking about when you can tell whether a horse is a really good one early on, first couple starts. Let me take you back to last year, training, see you at Peelers, even before she raced. What did Jimmy think about her prior to stepping onto the racetrack?
I mean, we always knew she had ability and all that, but that she was that kind of caliber horse that she turned out to be. No one can really say that or even dream about that when you're sitting and training one. So that she had ability, yes, but she proved the first time in the Baby race when she came a good last quarter there that she wanted to do it.
Is it easier to tell early on if one's going to be good with a trotter or with a pacer?
Yeah, definitely with the trotter, I think. The paces are a little bit more of a confidence game, I think, and that's absolutely easier with the trotter.
Before we let you go, see you at Peelers, 18 in a row she's going for in the Fan Hanover. Just give us an idea of where she goes next few starts for the people who want to keep following her.
Yeah, you know, he said we take one race at a time, and she's probably going to get a little break here after this race, so we'll bring her home after that and see what we decide to do from after there.
Jan Janssen, I want to know, when you have horses like Yankee Glide and Umbro Goal and all kinds of good ones, especially winning the Peter Horton 4 years out of 5, how early could you tell that you had yourself a really seriously nice trotter?
Most of the ones were good from the beginning, and then the really top ones, they were good from the beginning. There have been a couple, you know, like Yankee Mustang, he won the Peter Horton, but he had the early speed, and you know he was ready early. But after Peter Horton, you know, he never developed to be a good horse like that. But you know, like Yankee Glide and Super Gill and all, you know, they were good from get go.
Jonas Ernsten, you train a lot of trotters, a lot of good ones. How long does it take to really figure out, wait a second, this guy's better, more special than the others?
I mean, you could feel it like during the winter who's taking to it better, who doesn't run into troubles and stuff. But I mean, there's after the first couple of Baby races, you see who's stepping up by each time and who's kind of showing all they can do in the first two. So after a couple of Baby races, I think you can pretty much see who can do it.
Sometimes you train like 230, 240, all of a sudden you get down to, say, 205, 210, they hit a brick wall and they kind of stop right there.
Yeah, so you have that, and then every now and then you get one that goes the other way around that has problems early on, and then you change scenery, like we come up from Florida and they change their attitude and wants to be a racehorse.
And every now and then you get a hot shot blue chip who, you know the talent's there, you just got to somehow convince them to show it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Tron Schmetzhammer, how long does it take to figure out whether you have a really top flight horse?
Well, I think it depends a little bit on the horse, but sometimes I guess you can get a pretty good idea early training, but you know, when you start baby racing them, you really see how their attitude changes. You know, they know when it's time to race and how they change their attitude. You know, at least then you know you got a horse with some class. As far as the talent, you're gonna have to go a few miles, a few races with him, I think, before you really can tell. You know, obviously, if you got a freak and you know it comes out in a baby race, you know you're gonna have a good idea. But a lot of times, I think you're gonna, you know, at least the way I get my babies ready, you know, I'm not gonna be able to tell until you know, at least 2 or 3 starts.
Stefan Lind, a lot of young horses coming out in June, July. How long does it take, you think, or can you tell right away or early on whether one is extra special?
I think the ability of the horse you see almost right away. In my best horses have always been good, you know, from day one. But the moment of truth is when you start baby racing them, because some behave better than you expected and some don't behave at all. So it's really then you get the final view.
So it's not just the time, you know, training down to 240, 235. It's it's a combination of a lot of things, including attitude and gait and you know, and how they take to competitive racing.
Yeah, some horses can be lazy all winter, and then all of a sudden when you put them behind the gate, they wake up, and other horses get too excited. So you really don't know until you try.
And you don't want to do too much too soon with the 2-year-old either.
No, I mean we have this. The system works out that way, that you need to have them ready. It's hard to catch up later in the season, so you try to have them ready if you can.
Can you tell a great horse early on in their career? Certainly it's a difficult thing to do, but if you know, have you had a horse that was extra special right away?
I think you can see the qualities in a horse before you even get them to the gate. You know, when they walk out of the stall, they got to look the part. And then by the time you get them on the track and sit behind them for a few seconds, you know if they're gated and have that part of it. As far as you know, knowing how hard they'll fight and how much determination they have, that's a few starts down the road. But they have to have the talent and the natural skills and ability early on. Right away, you can tell that.